Hello everyone, my name is Lowko, and today it is time for a professional match of StarCraft 2. Now what I've got for you is game number 1 of the World Championship Series Spring Grand Finals. This was played last Sunday. If you're watching this, of course, on the week that it goes live, this was played last Sunday as part of one of the biggest events that we have in StarCraft 2 this year. So here's the thing. For some of these StarCraft 2 events, right, I know that they're gonna release the replay pack shortly after the event wraps up, and WCS Spring is one of them. Now, because of that, I don't really want to watch the games super closely. I do want to kind of follow the Grand Finals, at the very least some of the later games, but I purposely have been trying to not watch the games very closely and just sort of leave them open in the background. So if a game turns out to be very, very good, I can still cast it on the YouTube channel as well. I don't want to cast any games where I've already seen all of the ins and outs and where I already know what kind of builds and whatnot players are playing, just because that creates fake hype, and I think you guys would notice that almost immediately. Plus, it wouldn't really be a lot of fun for me to cast anymore either. So this is game number 1. Now, I do want to preface this by saying that I do know who ends up winning this match, but pretty much everyone has agreed upon the fact that this is the best game of the Grand Finals, so I think we should be in for a treat. Now let's dive into the details, but let's get started by introducing the players. Spawning here in the northwest corner of Year 0 LE and playing with the blue Zerg drones. He's from Finland. They call him the Finisher. He's the current world champion of StarCraft 2, an absolute legend already. We, of course, are looking inside of the main base of Serral. His opponent, in the top right-hand corner, playing with the red Terran SCVs. He's from Mexico. He's right now definitely the strongest non-Korean Terran player in the world. Of course, we have none other than Special. Alrighty, so this should be awesome. Now, here's the thing though. Serral, after losing the Grand Finals of WCS Winter, he has seemed a little bit angry, okay? He seems to have stepped up his practice quite a bit, to the point where he once again broke his own MMR record on the ladder. He peaked this season at 7,552 MMR, which is literally like 400 points ahead of everyone else. After losing the Grand Finals to Raynor, he really has once again stepped up his practice, it seems, and he is absolutely looking phenomenal right now. Because of that, I think Special is actually going to have a pretty tough road ahead of him. I've seen a game where... I've actually seen a couple games where Serral went up against Time, also in WCS Spring, and the early game defense was just so solid. I mean, I've been playing StarCraft 2 for 9 years, and that early game defense was just absolutely sublime. If you haven't seen those games yet, I don't think I'm gonna cover it. I don't think I'm gonna cover them on the YouTube channel, but I might make like an analysis video of one of those games. If you're interested in that, let me know down below in the comment section, because I think it is worth checking out. The early game defense of Serral was just so on point, where it was just so good that even though we saw Time trying to throw different kinds of aggression at him, it really didn't do anything. He just simply defended everything, and I don't think he lost a single drone throughout some of those games. It was just absolutely spot on. Now, I like this a lot. Okay, so Special is going for the 3rd command center right here before the starport. This is technically a very risky build. If a Zerg player decides to get aggressive in the early game, I mean, you don't want to put the 3rd CC close to the ramp, because then it's really easy to spot. But if you don't do that, obviously, you're not going to have a wall up over here either. If Zerg decides to get aggressive here in the early game, you're not really going to get that much done. Special is going to get even greedier right now. So not only did he get a 3rd command center before starting up the starport, he's right now also adding on a tech lab on the starport, but most importantly, the fusion core. Now, I just want you to look at this for a little bit, right? There are literally 5 Marines right now ready to defend, and this could be the point where a Zergling flood makes its way across the map. I think this is a calculated gamble right now for Special. He knows he's likely not going to be able to get that much early game damage done here against someone of the caliber of Serral. So because of that, he decides, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and play hyper greedy here. I'm going to get a 3rd command center so I can keep up with a Zerg player that is just simply droning up very, very hard. And I'm also now going to switch into very quick Battlecruisers. Now, if there was any kind of early game pressure planned right now for Zerg, I think this would have absolutely smashed the Terran player here. But judging by that production tab and judging by the size of the map as well, I don't think Serral really wants to play all too aggressive. I mean, Serral is definitely the strongest macro Zerg on the planet. If you give him a little bit of wiggle room and you give him, you know, some large maps, right? I think he's pretty much always going to default to playing that macro game, especially in game number 1 of the series. So I really, really like this from Special. Now, Special is even getting the Yamato cannon upgrade. This is something we haven't actually seen that much over the last couple of months, ever since they basically increased the amount of time it takes to research that upgrade. I think this does indicate to me right now that Special wants to go for at least a couple of Battlecruisers before he decides to, you know, switch away from them. Because otherwise you wouldn't get Yamato right now. It's not a cheap upgrade, and if you're only going to go for a single Battlecruiser, it really is not worth it. Look at that economy right now, though, already for the Terran player, right? Happily making 3 of those SCVs at once. Couple of Marines, apparently. Oh, they're trying to bait the Zerglings. Oh, I love that. So cool. He's trying to bait the Zerglings right now. It's like, hey, look at us. We're just defenseless Marines. Don't worry about it. But there we go. The Hellions do make their way across right now as well. At the same time, Battlecruiser does finish up. And I think that Special is immediately indeed going to jump across the map. Now, look at that response time. Really? Like, just did you see that? He had no idea about the Battlecruiser even being in production. Now, one drone does get picked off. Queens are already there. Drones were pulled away. The one that was still inside of the extractor ended up getting killed right there. But I think all things considered, that's very manageable. Now, Serral also, even though he didn't lose any Zerglings, which would have actually allowed these Hellions to do a lot of damage, he even split off a couple of the Queens to just simply, you know, minimize any kind of losses here. But look at the drone micro, man. He's just not going to take damage. He's just not going to take damage. And because of that, I think that Special is essentially forced to play a more macro-focused game. Now, he's not done trying yet, though. Yamato Cannon is done. Second Battlecruiser is going to come out here in just a little bit. And already, actually, wow. I think that Serral may have gotten a read on this as well. Well, he doesn't know about this just yet, but I think he may have maybe heard of some other players that this is something he likes to do. Yeah, he scouts right now that there's continued Battlecruiser production. He's already getting himself the Neural Parasite. Now, obviously, Neural Parasite is a spell that allows him to take control of those Battlecruisers with Infestors as well for, at the very least, a little bit of time. I guess that's one of the ways you can take control of this army and prevent the tactical jump from dealing a lot of damage. Another option is to go for the fungal growth on the Infestors. Once again, tactical jump right there towards the ramp. Another option is to go for the fungal growth, which also prevents these Battlecruisers from utilizing their tactical jump. 2 Battlecruisers, though, they do a lot of damage really quick. All of the Queens immediately are going to move forward. Now, we do see the Yamato Cannons going down. Actually, that was a little bit of misfiring there. I think he used 2 Yamato Cannons on just a single Queen. It does one-shot a Queen as well at the same time. A couple of Hellions are trying their very best to deal some damage. Apparently, the damage he's going to be satisfied with for now is just going to be some creep tumors. Ugh. That sucks, right? If you're a Terran player and the best damage you can deal is just a little bit of creep tumor damage. I mean, the Battlecruisers are still alive, which I guess is most important, but only 4 workers going down right now in a build that certainly was meant to deal quite a bit more damage. And actually, Special has to be careful. He doesn't know about Neural Parasite right now. I mean, he knows that the Infestation Pit was taken fast, but you don't really know if that's just going to be for just a bunch of fungal growth, or if he's actually planning to go for Neural really quickly. This is actually not something I've ever seen Serral play before. I have seen him go for, like, Corrosive Biles together with, like, Infestors and fungal growths to try and pick it off, but most of this army is actually just Roaches and Zerglings and Banelings right now. So, even though none of these units are particularly good at shooting up, right? I guess he's planning to just simply utilize Neural Parasite to get rid of these Battlecruisers, but another one is right now being produced as the 3rd one also comes out. So Special is going heavy into the Battlecruiser production right now, going for what seems to be a more vanilla mech kind of approach as well. Not really focusing on Cyclones, but instead going for Siege Tanks and Battlecruisers. That very slow-moving Terran army, but still decent enough to deal some damage. Well, here we go. You can cast the Neural Parasite from Burrow, by the way, so that is something we might see here in a little bit as well. Roaches and Ravagers are trying their very best to defend against some of that Cyclone army, but here we go. Neural Parasite has been utilized, and oh my god, Serral decides to use Tactical Jump right there to prevent these Battlecruisers from being able to retreat. One of the Battlecruisers does get shut down. We did see a kill right there on one of the Infestors as well, but that still is a trait that a Zerg player will take any day of the week. So cool. If you take Neural Parasite, right, if you take control of a Battlecruiser or of any unit in the game, you can use its abilities and its spells. And since Tactical Jump has a really long, a really long cooldown, using it right there in favor of Zerg is obviously really clever, because then the Queens can just simply pick it off without it being able to retreat. Now, there are, by the way, still some Cyclones coming out, right? I kind of assumed he was going to go heavy into siege tank production here, but that's not going to be the case. We see, oh my god, going for a Nidus Worm right now, as well as these Swarm host here is Serral. That is not a unit composition I've seen that much. Now, beautiful fungal growth there from the high ground. Serral manages to catch a big chunk of that army, and all of a sudden, this ground-based army that's going up against what seems to be mostly Battlecruisers right now and a whole bunch of siege tanks, all of a sudden, it might be able to advance towards the Terran side of the map. Special, though, has been happily macroing up. Right now, going up to the 5th command center already. And even though Serral is right now maxed out in supply, I don't really know if I like this unit composition for him all too much. Right? I mean, these Battlecruisers are very, very scary. I guess Fungal Growth and then Neuroparasite is his main counter right now, but that's really nothing too impressive whatsoever. Now, one of the things that Serral has been going for more as of late is Nidus Worm play, although I don't think this one is really going to be able to achieve that much. Maybe he plans on using the Nidus Worm, there we go, to pop the Swarm host in and then release a round of Locusts and then pop them back into the Worm as well. And then to just simply get aggressive all over the map. Zerglings, though, trying to now deny that command center from morphing into a planetary fortress, and that is quite important. The Battlecruisers, though, at the same time, are moving towards the northern section of the map. Swarm host should be able to pop out here in just a little bit, but already we do now see that transition here from Serral as well, who's going into the double Spire production. So hopefully he can start making some Corruptors to deal with this Terran force as well. Looks like the Nidus Worm, though, at the bottom side of the map has been killed. Serral is going to be able to take the fight here quite comfortably, as the Cyclones are not in plentiful numbers. At the same time, though, we do see the Queens trying their very best to deal some damage, but finally the Swarm hosts do pop out of the Nidus, and I think they're going to try and harass some of this army right over here, and then immediately they pop back in as well. Roach is trying to fight the planetary fortress, but it looks like they won't be able to get that much done, and even though Special was in a pretty rough position here just a couple of minutes ago, I think he's actually feeling pretty confident about this. Yes, a couple of SCVs go down. Yes, he hasn't really been able to deal that much damage, but he has not been crippled in any way, shape, or form. He has lost a lot of his army. That kind of sucks, but he's slowly rebuilding it. Now, +2/+2 has finally right now been started this year for the plating upgrade as well. That is quite important. Actually, yeah, these roaches should be able to just simply defend this, right? Are they going to be in time? Swarmers once again are going to pop out. Battlecruisers, though, are going to be the name of the game, and very, very quickly, we see indeed the Locust being utilized there, as immediately the Swarm host pop back into the safety of the Worm as well. Well, I don't think they're going to be able to get that much done, as the Battlecruisers obviously are phenomenal at just simply defending this right over here as well. Corruptors right now coming out, and I think that's what Serral ultimately needs to deal with a big ball of Battlecruisers. And look at that. Battlecruiser count is actually growing right now. We already are at 8. There's 2 being produced here at once. This is a Terran deathball if I've ever seen one. Let's see how Serral decides to try and approach this. I guess his first measure of attack here was to try and slow down the Terran economy, and I guess he killed a bunch of SCVs, but this is still 5 base Terran right now. Special is building his dream unit composition right now, and even though this is a very gas-heavy army, he's going to eventually be able to just simply replace any SCVs with mules, and that should allow him to be in a really phenomenal spot. Serral has got a unit composition that's great at harassing and slowing the Terran player down, but it's very supply-heavy, and I don't think he really wants these... Is he actually sacrificing them right now? Yeah, this kind of looks like a mistake, right? But no, I think what he's actually doing is just sacrificing a few of them, because he needs to get more Corruptors out. I mean, if this Battlecruiser army grows and you don't have a reliable way of dealing with them, they're just gonna smash everything on the ground. A lot of Spore Crawlers right here coming up. I guess that's Serral trying to protect his Nidus Worm investment to allow these Swarmos to be in a decent spot. I really think he's trying to lose him. I don't know if he's actually trying to do. Maybe he's just trying to get like another Locust wave off, or at the very least reduce the count of it. Battlecruisers, though, right here at the bottom of the map, and this is gonna be a risk. Massive fungal growth. There we see the corrosive balls connecting with it as well. Good control, though, by Special, actually. Neuroparasite right there helping out, allowing these Battlecruisers to use tactical jump as well. And that actually, even though it was still the best of a bad scenario, that still turned out to be phenomenal right there for the Zerg player. Man, how do you even stop that if you're Terran, right? We see a single Liberator trying to be a nuisance here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, but I don't really think that makes up for the amount of damage that Special just took from those corrosive vials. Who the heck, right, Imagine you're a Zerg player, right? And you're going up against Battlecruiser. Who in their right mind decides to counter it with Infestor's Fungal Growth and then Ravagers? None of those units really shoot reliably up, right? That is so difficult to achieve. I mean, obviously, he did transition towards Corruptors here later on as well, but not until Terran had like 6 or 7 or 8 or so Battlecruisers out in the first place. That feels like such a gamble to me, but I guess Serral has figured out a way to stay alive here just by constantly being aggressive here and by just simply building up that upgrade count. I mean, keep in mind, he has been happily upgrading for a long time. He's sitting at 3-3 already for ground as well as missile upgrades, and that's just simply going to allow all of these units that he does have to deal a ridiculous amount of damage. Now, most of the Swarmos are gone right now. Banelings apparently are going to be the name of the game. This is getting a little bit ballsy right now. I don't know if he wants to roll them into the Battlecruiser. Oh, or into the Planetary, rather. I think that is what's going on. We see a push right here on the northern end of the map as well. But roll your baits gently down there, Planetary. What? You know what? Oh. Planetary actually killed itself right there. In the meantime, we do have the Battlecruisers Yamatoing down whatever they can touch. And even though, you know what? Even though the base fell there, I don't even know if that's really that worthwhile. Look at the bank of Serral. It's really not that impressive. He's got 69 drones. Nice. That's nice. But he doesn't really have a lot of economy here. And the unit composition he went for, I mean, it hasn't really been that successful, right? He needs to switch towards something more reliable. And I think that's what he's doing right now. One of the things he has been working on is just simply expanding all over the place and getting a lot of gases. Those gases now allow him to produce Mass Corruptor, but also Mass Infestor. That is a unit composition that can deal with this Terran mech army quite comfortably. I wonder if maybe he should transition towards a couple of those Brute Lords as well. I think that might not be a terrible idea. Special, though, is now approaching his maxed out state. He's got very good upgrades, so +3, +2 right now. Battlecruisers with upgrades deal so much damage as every single little missile that they shoot is now going to have +3 damage output, which is very, very significant. They're also going to be significantly more tanky here, but he's got a very strong unit composition. Now, I wonder if maybe he should add on a couple of Ravens to the mix as well. I think Ravens might not be a bad idea. This Battlecruiser bowl feels a little bit vulnerable, though, right? I mean, yes, they're very good in a straight-up fight, but with Neuroparasite, Fungal Growth, and this amount of Corruptors, I don't know if you can really deal the damage. All that Serral needs right now, he's trying to bait this Terran army, by the way. He's trying so hard to bait him. But all that Serral needs right now is one successful Fungal Growth, and then a follow-up with Corruptors, and that army is dead, right? These Battlecruisers are gonna be smashed out of the sky very quickly. He does need to be cautious, though. You don't want to overcommit towards just Infestors and Corruptors, because then the Siege Tank Cyclone army can be a lot scarier as well. But here we go. Battlecruisers trying their very best to get some damage. I like this. Special staying mostly in the dead space. That's really important, right? This is not an area that Infestors can easily fungal into. Now, I guess he can make his way towards the main base here, and that's all fine and dandy. A couple of Roaches and Ravages and Zerglings, though, on move command, and they are going to be picked off here no matter what. Beautiful. There we go. Yamato cannons. Special manages to, I think, Yamato like a dozen or so of those Corruptors, and then he managed to get out of there once again as well. Small investment. He's just simply going to wait right now for the Yamato cooldown to once again come off, and I think he's probably planning on repairing these BCs back to full hit points as well, and he got himself a very valuable trait. Serral's still actually low eco, right? He's only sitting on 70 workers here, guys. That's not that much. To put it in comparison, a lot of Zerg players like to go up to about 80 or so drones, sometimes even 90 drones against Terran mech. This is an army composition that's very strong from Serral, but it's not easy to replace. This is basically it, right? He has made this army, and that's what he's going to be fighting with. He's not going to be able to afford going for a ton of Spore Crawlers right now, other than the ones, I guess, that he already has. This Terran army is looking very menacing as well. A couple of Siege Tanks, though, are set up everywhere, but they're not over here, which means these Ravages can deal some damage as well. I love the fact, though, that Serral is pushing the creep forward. He's actually looking right now, I think, for the engagement. There we go. Fungal Growth being utilized. We see massive amounts of Neural Parasite coming up as well. The Battlecruisers desperately trying to or rather to Yamato down as many of those Infestors as possible as well. But that army all of a sudden is under control of the Swarm. The Corruptors swoop in, trying to target fire down each and every one of these units one by one. SCVs right now underneath these BCs as well, trying to do as much damage as possible. Special does still have tactical retreats right there, those tactical recalls on those BC, at least on some of them, but Even though a few of them are still alive, that was a trade that Serral will take any day of the week. And that's what I mean, right? Eventually, once these neuroparasites start landing and once the... Oh my god, now we have the caustic spray as well. But once the parasitic bomb... Not the parasitic bomb, sorry. The fungal growth start landing, this Zerg army just smashes everything else. Obviously, in the meantime, he was also trying to do a run-by here on the northern end of the map because fighting at one angle at once with a very complicated unit composition is way too easy. But I think that this was kind of the nail in the coffin, right? I mean, sure, Terran does still have a pretty scary army, and I don't think he's going to be able to finish this off right here, right now. But that was a very, very big investment there by our Terran player. The thing is, though, I don't really see any finisher units right now for Serral. I think adding on, for example, Brute Lords would be a really good option, right? Going for Brute Lords right now would allow him to go and smash some of these Terran units and structures very easily. I don't see that many Swarmos either anymore, so these planetaries are gonna be able to stay alive for quite a while. Special's trying to re-secure this base. I think he probably also assumed that Zerg would start getting a little bit more aggressive. Fungal growth being utilized right there. It's gonna be able to pick up at least some of those Hellions. Oh, man. And yeah, I guess you can choose your poison right now if you're the command center, right? Do you want to die to the Corruptors or do you want to die to the Roaches? Neither is a really very favorable trade, I guess. Zerglings, though, fighting on the northern section of the map here as well. A couple of SCVs are being picked off. Orbital Command taking a lot of damage. +3 upgrades now coming up for the air units as well as for the carapace upgrades. Serral is allowing Special to mine on 5 or 6 bases. But that is about it. He's just not allowing Terran to go for any more. And since we are now 21 minutes into this game, right, there's really effectively only one proper mining base here for the red Terran player. Once again, fungal growth right there, utilized very, very nicely. Corruptors come up once again as well. Fungals are utilized everywhere. We see Neuroparasite taking control of that Terran army. And Serral absolutely demolishes Special there in game number 1 of the grand finals. Now, I'm not gonna cast the rest of the games because, I'll be honest with you, they were very one-sided. Serral made it look easy. He ended up winning the grand finals of WCS Spring in a 4-0 fashion. Absolutely smashing the competition, and I guess that means that the king is back. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button down below. And if you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get notifications as soon as I upload more. A special shout out to the Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. Thank you very much for your generosity. But for now, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile. And I'll see you once again in the next one.